All right, traders, welcome to your end of day market recap. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and today is Tuesday. What is today's date? Today is May 24th. All right, so what do we got for the averages today? Better than, and I think I have to update my spreadsheet here just a second, but interesting. The price action was a little bit different than what we've seen over the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Let me explain. Right. Previously, when we've started down, whatever the news was, we would kind of continue to go lower. A number of stocks did do that, but for the major averages, they actually, came back, and you can see it's kind of split when you look at what index did what. There was some fight back, which we really haven't seen that too much. So of course, the catalyst was another earnings report or guidance, which in the case is Snap, right, brought the whole group down with it. Anything that has to do with online advertising or anything like that just took a dive, and more worries about more economic worries, even though it is Snapchat and not a major company. You just kind of have to think about who else is having this weakness, right? Is it just isolated to Snap, or is it more or is it other companies? And of course, we've heard from some retailers that have confirmed that there are some issues with the consumer. So it is kind of the shoot first, look second market right now, with the way how fast things are moving. But we're going to go through what worked today, where there was relative strength and where basically there wasn't. But yes, so SPY finished down about 0.75%, but you could see up past the open, which again is different than what we've been seeing. Same thing with the Dow actually finished in the green, so that's really different, right, to see something like that. And that actually climbed about 1%, especially like in the last half hour of the session. Really had a nice move, as it was kind of a methodical move for some of these things, a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit up. But the small caps actually did okay today too. They still went down initially, but they managed to climb back a little bit. They finished down 1.5% for the day. And then of course the Qs are the lagging, right? We've talked about that for a while, that the Qs have been lagging. Really nothing is kind of changing there. TLT, again, a little bit different here. Bonds really rallied 2%. I want to look at that chart, right? Bonds and the dollar are doing something different, right? So that could be, there's a lot of different pieces to the puzzle. We try to cover as many of these things as possible. The VIX, I sent out a chart earlier of the VIX and the S&P. They look different to me. Normally when you see higher volatility, you see the VIX start to move up. We really have seen the VIX subdued, right? There's a lot of different viewpoints on that. I'm not going to really get into the nitty gritty of that. I get what people are saying. Sometimes that volatility remains kind of higher than usual, but just doesn't break out, right? There's been a couple different periods that you could go back and you could kind of look to say, hey, volatility was heightened, but it just didn't, get extremely high. So I get it. There's a little bit of a mixed signal there. For now, I view it as, it is what it is, that the fact that the market has been going lower or getting close to last week's lows, and volatility has basically been, I don't want to say subdued, because it's still around this 30 level, finished at 29.45, but yeah, 29.45. But I do view it as a small positive that it's not breaking higher in the same respect as what is happening in the indices. All right, so let's look at a couple charts. Why don't we start with bonds, because I want to get this out of the, I want to talk about the bonds first. You kind of have a little bit of a inverted head and shoulders type look here, that may be reaching a little bit on that pattern, but you could see you do have a head, a left shoulder, maybe a right shoulder, regardless of what kind of shape it is and so on and so forth. We're off the lows, and yields have been coming down a little bit. We'd like to see this maybe come all the way up to the top of value, right? That would be 143.21 in the long bond, right? That, again, it takes pressure off of the consumer, right? And mortgages, loans, right? By the way, look at the volume today in that. It's kind of interesting in the 30-year bond futures. Again, it's kind of been a flight to safety. Interesting, TLT also finished up 2%. Remember, bonds were down yesterday. So they're right back. Again, it's a different maturity, right? This TLT, right? Different duration than what you've got in the 30-year bonds, but 118.86. So again, fixed income market, very big market. That's why I always try to cover it because there's a lot of implications. This is very interesting as well. The US dollar. So this is the US dollar ETF. There's better ways to look at the US dollar, but it's just simple. I'm not doing any major analysis here, just looking at what's kind of been going on here with the UUP, which is the US dollar bull ETF, right? That's actually down. It broke 5-day moving average, 20-day moving average. So we're kind of coming into the 50-day moving average as well as the top of value. So that stronger dollar, that's been off considerably, the highs. Again, one less of a headwind to deal with. Let's get to the equity indices. So still kind of, try to be careful with how I'm describing this, but trying to basically carve out some type of a bottom here. Although there's not really much to kind of be that positive about in terms of the price and the trend, which still the price remains below the 5-period moving average. The trend is down, but you could see there's there is some life that's happening here, and there is some fight back, right? If we look at this 1-hour chart, which I spent some time going over yesterday, we talked about how we have a pretty big value area for the week. We opened up right at the point of control. This 200-period moving average, right? We're fighting with this thing. Price is fighting with this thing. Went lower, but really didn't go down to anywhere near where we were at the end of last week. And let's see if we can kind of give it another try to kind of push higher here. So the market is, the S&P is weathering some of these bad news. Again, I would say I've talked about a couple positive things. The negative things are that we're still getting, as bad news is being is not priced into this market, right? Whenever we get bad news, right, we could have, for example, in yesterday's video, I was, before even the snap news was out, I think it was out just as I was doing yesterday's video, but Zoom has good numbers, right? They go up a little bit and they get faded, right? Snap comes out with guidance and they get crushed, right? So we're still seeing when a company comes out and they miss their numbers or guidance, they are getting obliterated to the downside. When a name beats, it's having kind of a muted reaction, or if the initial reaction is a big pop, right, it's being faded, right? Hence, you could look at a couple of these reactions, but Nordstrom, right, went all the way up to $25. It's up to 22, right? Into it, right? You could see, just even though they're good numbers, right? Up $12. Okay, that's something, but it still can't even get out of this range. It'll be one to watch, right? And then Toll Brothers too. Now, I think Toll Brothers may have brought in their guidance, so I don't want to put that one in the group. But and here's Zoom, right, which managed to hang in there, but again, hit that VPOC there at 104 on the 1-hour chart, and that was basically good night, right? And I think it took out 3 of these on the 1, 2, maybe 3. Yep. So you got a 3 POC removal. Sometimes the 3 VPOCs on a 5-minute chart will do it. I don't know where those 2 went, but you could see this last one being taken out. So that's the bad, is that bad news is still having a bigger effect on the market. And I think one of those indicators, right, a little bit more of, instead of like a quantitative or something in the charts, I think just what we want to see is, if another company comes out and has bad earnings, right, you want to see it kind of take it in stride. You actually want to see, like, for the bad news, when you know that the bad news is priced in, the stock actually could possibly go up on bad news, right? I know that's counterintuitive, but that's when you know that things are priced in to the downside, right? So we're not, I don't think that we're there yet. We've talked about, I believe I've talked about that concept. I do a lot of these videos, so sometimes I forget which video I mentioned it, but I think I definitely mentioned that in one of last week's videos, right? So we're not there yet. Another thing that's concerning is just the buy the dip attitude, right? We're not seeing any major washout in sentiment, right? People are still in there buying the dip, right? There was the call activity, right? Joe Fahmy mentioned that on Twitter, I think this morning, was talking about, the call volume, right? If you look at the equity put call ratio, it really dipped significantly. So, people are still, I'm not sure I would use the word excited, but they're still out there, battling with this market. They've not thrown in the towel. That's another one of those indicators too, that you could say, hey, people aren't buying the dip in so many things that, that's usually when the bulls have thrown in the towel, and it doesn't seem like that has happened yet either. So there's a couple things that are going on. It's a complicated market, as we already went over a number of these things, and bonds and the US dollar as well. So let's talk about what really did well today, right? I just wanted to go through a couple things here. Just to go through further with the index charts, I would watch this 11,792 tomorrow in NASDAQ futures, right? Notice that we broke below. We came close, closer than the S&P to taking out last week's low, but we held in there. So 11,792. And then finally, IWM, really wasn't that weak as the S&P and NASDAQ were last week. It actually was a bit stronger, but still also held last week's low, and kind of in the middle of this value area. So something also to kind of keep an eye on. And I would watch 179.22 to the upside. All right, so where was the strength in this market? Well, let's go to the energy names. Once again, the trend is your friend with the energy names. EQT, right? Name that we talked about yesterday. Very nice. Almost went out to a new high. Schlumberger saw a bunch of calls today, which may be dividend related rather than a buyer of calls. Nevertheless, this was a name that I talked about yesterday. It kind of backed up into the top of value. That was a area for me to give this a try. Right. So here's my entry at 11 o'clock. I gave a quick, 2-minute video on that, or audio on it, talking about why I took that trade. I was able to take, what was it? Target here, 43.80, finished right around there. Right. And I think if you look at the one, I wanted to take a target right at the top of value for the day. All right. That's Schlumberger. But again, if you look across names, smaller name, BPT, big move at the end of the day, right? That gets you out to new highs for this one. Another smaller cap name, CTRA, also out to new highs. Of course, the COP has been looking good. Exxon, if I didn't already mention it, just, amazing, out to new highs, up another 0.5%, outperforming the overall market. What's been interesting too is the utilities, right? Again, this is not an exciting name, not exciting group, but SRE. I did put on a trade. One of my colleagues at Tribeca Trade Group mentioned this one gets back above the 50-day moving average. What was the name that I was looking at yesterday? Sorry, the being that some of these names are not as exciting, I forget what they are. But this was EXC, right? Here's how EXC, kind of a similar look, right? Move this, not exactly, because this was actually held above the 50-day moving average quite nicely. Made it into value yesterday. Right, this is Exelon, right? And boom, nice move. And again, this is kind of baby steps with some of the stuff. Like I would be looking to take that trade off at around 49.93. Another one that I played today, which I bailed on this one. Another one of these coal names. And I think I did the right thing here. It didn't have a strong close, so I took this thing off. But it'll be, an interesting one to watch. I was watching BTU as well. Made it inside the value area, closed right at the 50-day moving average. The issue with this one is it kind of ran into that virgin point of control and sold off a little bit. All right, so that is that group. The consumer staples also go back to being strong, right? A couple of the tobacco names right? This is the one I think that people don't pay that much attention to. I know Philip Morris and Altria are the other two, but I like this BTI out of the group. Maybe sees a move up to 45.57, right? And the other one is PM, which had a strong close today too. Right, sticking with kind of that low volatility area of the market. AT&T, this was a nice trade for me. I took this one off today, even though there's a VPOC up here at 2178. There's what so it could take out that 2178, but I just said, I don't want to be greedy. I'm trying not to be greedy with trades in here. With the Fed kind of, with the market in a bear market, with the trend down, right? I'm not being greedy in any names that, I'm playing to the long side. So here was my exit on AT&T after taking a couple targets. These were just some July calls in this one. All right. So 85 cents, paid 49, put that trade on about a week ago. Nice move in there. Besides that, a couple of names in tech. AVT was a name that I tried today. This is Avnet, right? I just like the fact that I've been watching this name. It is a cheapy name, right? It hit the, I took a target right around that bottom of value, which is, I bought some in here, took a target here. We'll see. AVT is, I've talked about this name a couple times. It had good earnings. If you're not familiar with this name, it's a technology distributor, right? Distributes computer products and semiconductors as well as interconnect. Again, look at the PE ratio on this thing in the middle of your screen. It's an 8, right? That's how I like playing technology right now, is the cheapy plays, right? Google, I wanted to go over this one. I haven't been involved in any of these names for a while. Take a look at this, 2 VPOCs being taken out to the downside. Now, again, make sure you look at the weekly chart. It's trading below value. So you've got resistance up there at 22.59. I think it's ultimately in the cards that the next area of support, if it kind of breaks today's low, would probably be down in here. I don't know for sure if that happens or if it gets down to that level, right? That would be kind of, further down into here. But for now, we've taken out these 2 VPOCs and I'm looking for a bounce. I saw some calls on the tape. I decided to take a shot on this one, small trade, because that's how I'm playing with this group, because I'm not participating in this group until it acts better, until it shows me something, right? Remember, the way that we kind of look at these names, right, is that they have to, they have to sell me, right? I'm not being sold by some company, right? The price action has to sell me on, encourage me to get into a name. I'm not buying some weak, downtrending name. No, I want to buy strength. You got to show me how strong of a company you are for me to go ahead and buy you. Right. Other than that, I'll take a small trade, small shot here and there. I think, a call spread, which is what I did here, is one way to kind of play that. But yeah, I mean, that's, so I'm giving this example because I think a lot of retail traders look at things, may not be looking at things the way that they should, right? They think, oh, it's down, it's a discount, right? That's not strong. You want to go after strength, relative strength, right? You want to go after, I'm trying to think of the right analogy, but I think that's probably good enough, is that, right? These stronger companies, the ones that are holding up, breaking out, they've got it going on. You don't want to go after some of these loser companies that are in, forget about what they do, right? The price action should tell you enough, right? It should tell you whether or not it's in a strong place right now, right? Given this current environment. Forget about what the company does. Please don't send me any hate mail on that, right? LNTH, right? I thought I added to this trade today because there was an acquisition in medical devices. I like the inside day. I like buying this name on dips. That's worked pretty well for the last couple months. So I continue to do that. And, I'm looking to see if this thing can get out to new highs. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. Have a great night. Again, just, bottom line, taking things a little bit day by day right now, right? And realizing that, there's a lot of things going on, right? We still, yesterday we heard from one of the Fed speakers, Bostic, that said, hey, maybe if inflation comes down, we may get two more interest rate hikes, 50 basis points a piece, and then they're going to kind of see what how inflation looks once that happens, right? But you have to be patient for now. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.